Welcome. I am Gail, and thank you for joining the channel. I am a trauma informed yoga instructor, mindfulness, meditation coach, and somatic educator. And I am doing these YouTubes as a part of a challenge. So this is day 20 of consecutively posting on YouTube. And I did this because I was challenged and called to show up more on social media. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. You may have seen a recent post that I did concerning wanting to move out of the country. And so I started finding Black women who were helping other Black women move out of the country. And I found someone who had moved to Thailand. And she's a content creator and she has this challenge. Her name is Glow. So shout out to Glow because I'm all out of my comfort zone doing this. But I often teach in my classes that everything starts with a thought. And with my whole heart, I believe that everything starts with a thought. Now, it can't remain just a thought, but everything has a starting place. And so I think we have to begin to visualize and begin to imagine those things that we want. And we have to turn our attention to more positive things, right? I believe in our minds, we can continually play a repeated recording, and that's the life that we tend to live. So if we feel like we're hustling, we're always grinding, every day is on repeat, we're not taking time to sit and be silent and to figure out what more is calling us, even though that more is going to challenge you. And it's going to challenge you in different ways. And I think the work that I offer and the work that I teach is about getting still. And for some people, that is very challenging, particularly if you've never practiced or you've never been still before or you've never gone inside your body to kind of quiet your mind. So I think there are some abilities that we have that we can pay more attention to, some innate abilities that we already have inside of us. Like we have conscious creation within us. It's not something that happens magically, right? But it's something that you can begin to notice and then you can begin to direct your focus to. Conscious creation also speaks to neuroplasticity. And when I first learned of neuroplasticity, I learned it and then I taught it to a group of educators who I was in the process of training to be wellness champions and yoga instructors. But if we keep thinking a thought, think of a record and think of the grooves in a record. And the more times we think a thought, the deeper that groove goes, right? And so we have to begin to think new thoughts. And so that's where our conscious creation comes in. And it's something that, yes, you do have to work at. You do have to repeat a thought, or maybe you think a thought that was more negative, and then you come back with a more positive thought and you change that thought. So that's sort of the practice that you have to do in order to change your thought. But the brain is incredibly powerful and is able to change no matter where you are, no matter what age you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like. There's also something called theta access. When we get into that state, the space between thinking and simply being. There are moments when the constant commentary in our mind can become quieter, and that's where meditation comes in. The goal is never to stop thinking, right? In meditation, which is what some people have been led to believe, it's the practice of noticing your thoughts and hopefully slowing them down a bit. And that's where breath awareness comes in. So if we make our breath an anchor, we begin to think more about the breath than we do about the thoughts. And you're noticing thoughts, but not chasing the thoughts. I typically think of them as acknowledging thoughts like clouds in the sky. You kind of look up, you see them, and then you allow them to float away. For some people, what helps them is thinking about maybe walking in your home and you notice something on the floor. Instead of picking it up and taking it to the garbage, you train yourself to walk past it, knowing you can come back to it later. We're not arguing with our thoughts because when we argue, that groove, that neuroplasticity, it just deepens. So even when we say, um, trying to think of a really good example, even when we say, today, I'm going to eat better and I'm not going to eat whatever your thing is that you're trying not to eat. You're giving your thoughts to that. Even though you're saying, I'm not going to do it, you're still giving your thoughts to it. So I have also learned what has been very helpful for me is what I call pivot. So instead of thinking about the food, find something to appreciate. That's your pivot. Even looking up, again, I'll use the analogy of the sky and clouds. Oh, it's a beautiful day out today. Or, oh, look, find something to be grateful about. Find something to appreciate and no longer give any thought, positive or negative, to whatever that thing is that you're trying not to think about. And hopefully that makes sense. There's also something that I think we all have that's called intuitive timing, learning to recognize when to move and when to pause, when to go and when not to go. And I've noticed, and this is lived experience, that sometimes you don't know why you have to say no to something, or you don't know why you have to say yes to something, but you know that you can't do it. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend that wanted me to travel somewhere with her, and it was enough time. It was several months in advance. I love to travel, but I knew it was not the right thing for me to do in that time. I didn't know why, but I knew I had to trust that. And so that intuitive timing allows you to learn when to move and when to pause and then to trust that and then to act on that. And I found out later why that trip was not for me. And I was confirmed. And for me also, it can work when we don't listen, right? When we don't listen to our intuition and we don't trust that timing, then we're kicking ourselves, or at least I am. Like, I knew it. I knew that was something. And a lot of times I'm in situations where processes or things have been put in place. There's a reason, there's a rationale, there's a testimony, there's a number of things that would say, okay, yeah, we should do it that way. But within me, I knew it. And then there's always something that'll show up later that will say, see, you should have trusted yourself. So I'm learning to do that more. And we have to be really clear about our intentions towards something as well. There's where that discernment piece comes in. Another thing that we can learn to develop is dream recall. I believe that in our subconscious mind, sometimes we are able to figure out some things or to do some things differently because our brain continues to process even while we're asleep. Our dreams involve our memories, our emotions, um, our imagining, our ongoing brain activity continues to happen during sleep. So, dream recall can vary between people, but your subconscious can work out the answer to something if you allow it. And so, another tip that I want to give is keeping a pad and a pen, maybe by your bed. And as soon as you wake up, write down one thing you remember about your dream. It could be a color, it could be whatever, whatever comes. It could be one single word, one single word. And over time, you may become better at remembering your dreams. So, attention to something is also training, it's also developing more positive experiences in our lives. That's why I think intentions are so very important. And I think for me, doing things first thing in the morning before you pick up the phone, if you can, before you run off to the washroom, if you can. You can't always do that. But before you start allowing other stimuli to come into your space, set an intention for your day. Call it out, move it into your space. And over time, you will begin to notice more. Then I think we have also that we don't tap into very often is that inner vision, the ability to imagine what's possible before it exists, thinking those things that are not as if they were. Before you build something in the physical world, you often have to imagine it. So I'm back to my initial message. Everything starts with a thought. Think about how you want your life to be, the home you want to live in, the relationship that you want. Think about what you want your next chapter to be and spend more time thinking about the positive outcomes and try not to get caught up in the what ifs and the negative outcomes. Begin to train your thoughts to create scenarios around positive outcomes versus negative. I think it's easier for us to think negatively about things. So train your thoughts to think more positively. I've been imagining what it would look like to live somewhere completely different. And I'm trying not to get caught up in the what ifs. What if it's not better than where you are right now? You created a lovely space, a lovely home that you love right now, but something is still pulling me. So I'm trying to begin to imagine positively what that might look like. I think the other thing that we have that we don't tap into often or often enough is discernment. Discerning what feels right, discerning without words, without proof, what is going on. That you know that you know that you know. We need to tap into that more often. Not every thought deserves our attention. Not every feeling is necessarily an instruction. Not every opportunity is necessarily your calling. And discernment, the ability to discern, will help you know what you don't know that you know. I'm gonna say that again. It'll help you know what you don't know. That you know that you know. There are some things innately that we just know that we know that we know. And I think it requires stillness. It requires that quiet work. I think it's spiritual work for me. Use whatever term works for you. But I think that stillness is what's required for discernment. We need to be calmer, a little regulated. Not that everything calm is going on in the world and everything is, but we can cultivate that within ourselves. We can put more attention towards that within ourselves. I think also when we reflect and we track our thoughts, and this is where I think journaling comes in. I get such a kick out of going back and reading my journal entries. Sometimes I'll go back several years. I've kept a journal off and on. And I think I probably have 5 or 7 journals, and I pick up the one that is closest to me at the time to write that thought down. So, yeah, I pray for my family if they ever try to piece my life together because they're going to have to be working from different timelines and several different journal entries. But going back, sometimes you say, why was I tripping on that? But you were, and that's where you were at that time. And it allows me to see how far I have come. So, time too is also a requirement. And sometimes waiting on that discernment, like that trip that I knew I wasn't supposed to take, but I didn't really know why. It took a while. It took some folks going and reporting back months later about how the trip went. And I knew it was such a confirmation for me. I knew I was right. Like when we know we're right, it feels really good. And so we just, even though it may be uncomfortable in the moment, and I've learned also to try not to talk myself out of what I know that I don't know, that I already know. Right? Know that our brain is not fixed. It's continually adapting based on our experiences, based on what has been a pattern in our lives, based on what our attention is moving toward, based upon what we have learned. So think about it like this: if your daily routine is about picking up your phone, scrolling, reacting, or consuming, and then hurrying up, multitasking, and then the day is over, and then the next day you just repeat that, you're intentionally practicing that way to be. Your brain is always being trained, right? The question is who or what is doing the training? I try to get as much information I can to be as informed as I can while staying away from the news that triggers me. That has been really powerful to me in my life. And I get all the information that I need. If I'm supposed to know something, I will know something. And I want to offer again that window first thing in the morning. I think that that is such an important time to allow those things to grow that I just mentioned. I think that is the perfect time. Those few minutes in the morning are an opportunity to decide what's going to get your attention for the day. And I was going to say intention because that's when I set my intentions at the beginning of the day. If I know I have a challenging day ahead of me, my intention might be to stay in the present moment. My intention might be a scripture. Thank you for doing exceedingly and abundantly more than I could ever ask or imagine. It might be a phrase or a favorite poem. It might be a single positive word, but I think that window in the morning allows you to set the tone for your day before the outside world moves in on you. So instead of scroll, react, consume, hurry, multitask, repeat, maybe begin to change that to pause, breathe, notice, imagine. You could even reflect and then choose, and then allow that to be your repeat. Get in the habit of doing that. And again, habits take time. I think there's some research out there that says it takes 21 days, 3 weeks to build a habit. So, can you give yourself 3 weeks to begin to change and then allow that neuroplasticity, the brain, to help? Because there's science back behind neuroplasticity beyond what I know that I don't know that I know. So, I suggest a 10-minute practice. You could focus on breath. You could focus on making the exhale longer than the inhale. So you're consciously breathing. You could do that for 10 minutes. You could find some guided meditations. I did a whole series. I did a 30-day challenge, and it was a fusion of yoga, mindfulness, and meditation. So I will link a couple of those meditations, and they were about belonging. I think belonging starts with belonging to ourselves. So you could start there, but just 10 minutes a day can begin to change your thought process, can begin to change how you move through the world, and can begin to point your attention to a more positive direction. Sometimes I start my day and I'm going to shout out. I talked about the challenge early on in this post. Um, and I think if you are of a certain age and you don't have young people in your life, get some young people in your life. I was the mentor uh, to now Dr. Abina Berry when she was in high school. She actually did an intern with my company, the Joy Yoga, when she was in college. I'm so very proud of her. She has written this book, and I'm going to show it here. I don't know if it's gonna how it's gonna come up, but it's called Bold, Black, and Beautiful. Again, Dr. Abina Berry, and it is just filled with so many good nuggets. It's a psychology guide to heal and to thrive, and it's for everyone, but it is geared toward um, Black people. And it just talks about that neuroplasticity. It talks about so many other things that we have to unlearn, some things that we were taught. So it's very, very powerful. So again, you can get it anywhere. And I just had to, again, shout her out. I hope you can see that. I love the cover. It is awesome. But again, Bold, Black, and Becoming, a psychology guide to heal and thrive by Dr. Abina Berry. Again, my name is Gail. Please subscribe to my channel, like, and share it with someone who might need to hear any of these little nuggets. And don't forget to remember what you already know. Be well.